Things are gonna get crazy!
Most everyone's mad here.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. How are you all doing, everybody? I know it's been a little bit of a while, and last week I did have a bit of a break, but now I am back, I am refreshed, and now we're ready to take some action in checking out the big news in animation and in entertainment. In fact, there's actually something very special about this episode in particular, mainly because this is actually the big 365. Which means that, yes, now there is one episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast for every day of the year. That's how long that I've been doing this thing, and it's kind of crazy to think about. But for this special occasion, however, and because of some major news to go and discuss, I actually have a special guest star with me. Yes, I have a special guest in which this is not her first time here in AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. In fact, he is actually quite the veteran in terms of podcasting and having an internet presence, especially with his podcast, Escape from Walt Disney. So yes, he's going to be coming back with more craziness in store for us. So please welcome back, everyone, to AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, Tony Goldmark. Tony, how you doing, dude?
You still haven't released enough episodes for one a day on a leap year. So you're still a poser as far as I'm concerned.
That'll be next week. Don't worry. I got that covered.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so how are you doing, Tony, by the way?
Oh, not too bad. I just recently finished releasing 8 podcast episodes in 8 days to my YouTube channel, which I hadn't updated in a few years with new podcast episodes. I'm hoping to release a new a new video version of a podcast episode of Escape from Walt Disney once a month going forward. So we'll see if I stick to that. Yee! And yeah, 8 of my favorite Escape from Walt Disney episodes from the last several years were released last week from Sunday to Sunday, February 1 through 8. So yeah, go check those out on my YouTube channel after this live stream is finished.
Yeah, of course. And any examples that you want to go and provide of like what you've talked about to like help hype things up about your new uploads?
Oh, well, like I said, there's some of my favorite episodes of the last few years of Escape from Walt Disney. We did, there's an episode on the insane Disney Channel movie Hatching Pete, where where an entire community just goes absolutely nuts for a giant chicken suit for some reason. There's an episode of Hannah Montana that we all hated. There's an episode of the ABC series Once Upon a Time that my guests and I were just absolutely flummoxed by. Like Charlie Marlowe, one of my guests on that episode, it has actually seen pretty much all of Once Upon a Time, so they helped explain who everyone was, and that just confused us more, so that's entertaining to listen to. There's an episode from a few years ago where we did Not on Disney Plus month for 5 episodes in a row, where we covered stuff that is not on Disney Plus. Usually Escape from Walt Disney is for Disney Plus content, and the episode I chose from that was on a 1981 Disney movie called The Devil and Max Devlin, where, I'm not kidding, Bill Cosby played a demon from hell. There was a 1981 Disney movie where Bill Cosby played a demon from hell, and we covered it on my podcast, and we absolutely eviscerated it. And 5 more episodes. Also a couple of guest choice episodes. Charlie Callahan's guest choice on the absolutely awful Chevy Chase, Jonathan Taylor Thomas 1995 movie Man of the House, and David Gansel's long-awaited guest choice on the 1960 Zorro movie, The Sign of Zorro. So that was much better than Man of the House. So, but yeah, they're all that's 8 new episodes on my YouTube channel. Go check them out when you get the chance.
Awesome, man. No, they all sound great. And I mean, speaking as someone who has been in your podcast, I know that they've been always a great time.
Well, thank you, Matt.
And for this, however, for the episode that we have here, I have a lot of major news in store, including one grand finale that I cannot wait to dive into, especially considering it's already one of the biggest news of the year so far, which will change things up on how the future is going to look. Well, maybe not like the future, but at least the future of our subject.
The future of our hyperfixations, definitely.
Exactly. But with all that said, though, Tony, are you ready for today's episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast?
Doesn't it look like I'm ready? I am always ready. Perfect. I have been ready since first call. I am ready. Roll.
Perfect, man. Perfect. Now, Chadwell, I want to hear from you also. Are you ready for today's episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast? Let me hear it now. Folks, are you prepared? Are you ready? And by the way, just a big thanks to JF and J Monty for being the new fish in this episode, for already starting off great. And already I see in the chat, people are ready, people are set. That is beautiful. And with that said, it is now time that we shall go and get things started. And the first thing that I want to go and talk about, considering that it just recently happened as I am recording this, Tony, if I recall, you mentioned you haven't seen anything from the Super Bowl, right?
I am vaguely aware that there is a sport called football and that it exists. But so no, I haven't watched the Super Bowl, I'm afraid.
Ironic, considering the last time I was in your podcast, we did talk about football and how chaotic it was. You remember the Goofy cartoon?
That's right. Yeah, we talked about your most recent appearance on Escape from Walt Disney was we covered a bunch of vintage Goofy shorts, including How to Play Football from 1944.
Yes, but shockingly enough, other than the Bad Bunny halftime show, you missed nothing. In fact, it is shocking how even in terms of the trailers that came out, there was like nothing. At the most of what we got is just like little 30-minute commercials of movies that we have already seen big trailers for. Or 30 seconds. 30 seconds, sorry. 30, I misspoke.
How much are
there.
they spending on that Super Bowl ad? Good God.
Yeah, but like, however, like we only got like a few things like Hoppers, Project Hail Mary, Disclosure Day, The Mandalorian and Grogu, all of which, like, we've already seen those types of trailer, like already big trailers, but nothing really in terms of like something fresh and new or any major announcements. Not even from like some of the more anticipated stuff like Doomsday or Spider-Man Brand New Day or Toy Story 5.
Well, we did get an alt-universe trailer for Jurassic Park that was very entertaining, that Xfinity ad. Directed by Taika Waititi. I like that ad. That was funny. But, well, I'll take your word for it, since, again, I'm only vaguely aware that bowls can be super in the first place.
Yes, however, there were two trailers that were kind of like new announcements, and we're going to go and check out one of them right now, in which allow me to go and begin by starting things off as we go and check out the trailer for the upcoming Netflix movie, The Adventures of Cliff Booth.
So you helped Rick subdue those hippie intruders, huh?
Something like that.
And that was The Adventures of Cliff Booth. Ooh, that's almost like a tongue twister. To which it will be coming out on Netflix later this year with no release date confirmed. And the one thing to go and note about The Adventures of Cliff Booth is that this is the spin-off sequel to Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. However, this time around, this is actually going to be brought to us by David Fincher. So, Tony, just out of curiosity, you have seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, have you?
I have, yeah, but several times. I've seen every Tarantino movie at least 10 times.
Yeah, so you're familiar with the fact that Netflix and Sony, like they've always wanted to make some kind of like spin-off starring Brad Pitt's character, Cliff Booth, right?
Well, I don't know if it was necessarily Netflix and Sony. I think it's more just they'll put out anything that Tarantino wants made. But yeah, like you said, this movie is written by Tarantino but directed by David Fincher. And just looking from this trailer, you can tell it's a David Fincher film. The lighting alone is just pure Fincher. Everything only looks about half lit. It's that kind of look to it. Tarantino has long said that, he's going to stop directing after making 10 films. And Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was his 9th. And it was 7 years ago, and he still has yet to make that final 10th film. I think it's a bit of decision paralysis on his part. I mean, for a while, he announced that his 10th and final film was something called The Movie Critic, which like this film, would have been set in 1977 Hollywood. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was obviously set in 1969. This is set 8 years later in 1977, as I understand it. And I'm guessing that script evolved into this one. He said he ultimately changed his mind about it and didn't want to direct The Movie Critic because he thought it was too similar to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And since he's very serious about stopping after 10 films, he wants to make sure his 10th and final film is new territory for him. He doesn't want to just retread anything he's made before.
Yeah, that does make sense because like with the big promise that he wants to do he wants his 10th to be his last one, like he probably wants to go and find something that would end off in a massive bang, what would be the ultimate what would be the ultimate grand finale for a Quentin Tarantino directed movie?
Yeah, I don't even know if it's that necessarily. I think he just wants to he wants to do it different. Since he's committed to making this his last movie ever, he wants it to be unlike he doesn't want it to feel too much like any of his previous movies. He wants to go into new territory for it. And I respect that. Personally, I think Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is easily Tarantino's most overrated film. Like, it's not his worst film. That's a different thing. But I think it is his most overrated, even though I've still seen it several times just because I'm addicted to the man's work. But, people treat it like it's one of his masterpieces, and I just don't really see it. I think there's a lot of good things in it, but there's just no story to it whatsoever. It meanders all over the place. I like to describe it as basically Ready Player One, but for your parents. Like, the same way Ready Player One was just, hey, here's a bunch of familiar nostalgia for people who grew up in the 80s and 90s. This is just, hey, here's a bunch of familiar nostalgia for people who grew up in the late 60s, specifically in Los Angeles. Hopefully the Adventures of Cliff Booth will be better. I hope there's an actual story this time. That'd be nice. But I am still looking forward to it. Tarantino has earned my trust at this point.
I do understand. I mean, as much as Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is, I do feel like there is a part of it that's basically making a Hollywood version of Inglourious Bastards, where you kind of have like this action-packed revisionism, and you got of course you got to bring back Brad Pitt to be one of the leading characters, and on top of that, there's also the idea of, if only we stopped the bad guys at that moment in the American cinematic version, in this case is trying to stop Charles Manson and his crew. But yeah, I mean, go on.
And I do like that part of it. I think the third act where they kick the asses of the Manson family, I think that might be the best part of the movie. But yeah, I would have preferred it if it was more like Inglourious Bastards, but set in the late 60s, because Inglourious Bastards is my favorite Tarantino movie of all time. And if this had focused more on the Manson family and trying to figure out what their deal is and then ultimately stopping them, I think it would have been a more interesting movie as is, but it just meanders. It's got that whole scene where Sharon Tate just goes to the movies and watches another movie and nothing else happens in that whole scene. It's just, I don't know. There's the middle chunk of that movie, I think, is just brutal because it's just scene after scene of, okay, where's he going with this? Where's he going with this? like I said, not his worst movie. A lot of good stuff in it. I do think easily his most overrated one.
Nah, that definitely is fair. So in the case of Cliff Booth, other than wanting another story, or like wanting an actual story within, what else are you looking forward to see like in the Cliff Booth movie?
Just, I love Tarantino's dialogue. I'm looking forward to that. This looks like it's going to be, it looks like it's going to have more action in it. It looks like it's going to, depict a very different era of Hollywood history. I mean, 1977 it's basically night and day from 1969, even though it was just 8 years later. Things had changed significantly in the entertainment industry, so especially Hollywood. So yeah, I'll be looking for I'll be looking forward to that. Basically, I haven't loved every Tarantino movie, but he's always interesting. Even when he's not good, he's still interesting. So I'm just happy to be along for the ride, really.
Oh, that's fair. One thing I will say, though, that I did like in this trailer is how it does lean in so much into the exploitation genre, where it really does make it feel like a movie from the 1970s. And like even emphasizing kind of the, well, not to repeat myself, but like the exploitative things, because they have to edit out the trailer so that it makes it accessible for everyone. And like just like those like scratchy little lines on anything that would be provocative. That was
cigarettes and boobs and things,
Yeah. That I felt like was a nice touch, and it adds to the authenticity of that 70s feel of it. So honestly, I am excited to see how they're going to turn this into a bit of a time capsule and how they're going to try to make this into a little nod to the 1970s.
Sure.
Yeah, but overall, though, I mean, it is a small trailer, or I guess we could say this is just like a teaser. So there's not a whole lot to go into it, but there is some enthusiasm to see what's in store. So with all that said, if you guys are excited to go and check out if you are excited to check out The Adventures of Cliff Booth, then keep in mind that the movie will be coming out on Netflix later this year. And with that said, now I would like to pass this on to the chat wall, and I'd like to ask you all, what did you think of that teaser trailer of The Adventures of Cliff Booth? Are you guys excited to go and check it out? And if you are a fan of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I would love to know your thoughts on what may be in store with this. So let me know what you guys think. So let's see now. I'm surprised we got this at this year's Super Bowl. As a fan of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I think this could probably work. Speaking of Quentin Tarantino, have you seen his Fortnite collab he did by making a Kill Bill animated short? It had the same animation style as Spider-Verse, and it was simply awesome. No, honestly, I haven't. Have you?
I have. I saw when they re-released the Kill Bill, the whole bloody affair in theaters back in December. I saw that, and yeah, that animated short was pretty cool. I kind of wish they hadn't made it in Fortnite. I think it just kind of looks cheap the way they did that. Like the whole time I was watching it, I was just thinking, okay, I hope they didn't use AI, but honestly, the way this animation style looks, it looks like maybe they might have. I don't know. I honestly don't know. Maybe they didn't, but yeah, it not my favorite style of animation, certainly, but it was a neat little scene.
Honestly, I'm quite surprised. I haven't actually, but then again, I'm not as connected to Fortnite. Like I've played it a few times with family, but that's
Me neither.
pretty much
I've
it.
never played it.
All right, let's see. I really love Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and stand by that Brad Pitt deserved that Oscar, even if I did prefer Tom Hanks. And with the trailer, it looks just as insane, if not more. The Tarantino style complements David Fincher well. Brad Pitt is still going all out, and the stunt work is wild. I'm definitely going to give this a go, even if I would have liked if Tarantino were back. I mean, did Fincher canonically interact with Kermit? Yeah, that's the one thing Fincher doesn't have yet.
How canonical could Muppets Wizard of Oz really be, honestly?
I don't know. Maybe one day, if Miss Piggy ever interacts with Ariana Grande, that's going to be the true test.
That the Brooke Shields episodes of the Muppet Show, that was the real Muppets Wizard of Oz.
A
Reject
little bit.
modernity. Reject the modernity of 21 years ago.
If only Disney can just bring that episode onto that. I mean, like, it's just the Wizard of Oz factor is the one thing that's holding it back.
It's the music rights is what it is. It's all the songs from the MGM movie. You know, it's expensive. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, that is true. Let's see if there are any more comments. I haven't seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, so I can't really comment on this trailer that much, but I can see how it could be a solid sequel to the original, although I'm very surprised it's going to Netflix instead of being released in theaters. That is true.
Is it going to Netflix instead of being released in theaters? Because Netflix often releases their movies in theaters, at least their bigger movies. I thought this was getting a theatrical run as well, but if that's not true, that's disappointing. I would have loved to see this in theaters.
I'm not 100% sure. I didn't fully check onto it. I wouldn't be surprised, though, especially like if they have massive faith in it, if they think this is going to be like a true contender during award season, then yeah, it'll probably get a limited screen, like a limited theatrical release. But I mean, I guess it all depends on Netflix. Like they're like, you never know like which ones they're just gonna keep at home or which ones they would really want to go all out, like Frankenstein, like the works of Guillermo del Toro in general.
Oh, of course.
So yeah, let's see. Are there any? Some people even suggesting an idea of what to do for Tarantino's 10th movie. Maybe Tarantino should team up with Bakshi for a new Fritz the Cat film with Skip Himent reprising Fritz.
How old is Ralph Bakshi at this point? I thought he was basically retired. Certainly from features.
Oh, he retired like years ago. I think like he's getting close to 90.
His last movie was Cool World, speaking of Brad Pitt. So I mean, I wouldn't count on a Tarantino Bakshi collaboration anytime soon.
Yeah, I get it. And I mean, like, even at that, there was also the animated short he did, like I think we could say now over a decade ago, like The Last Days of Coney Island. And oh boy, that one was like wild, I will say. Like, this goes even above and beyond like the regular abstract that Ralph Bakshi would do. Have you seen that one?
I have not. No, I'd be interested in it for sure.
It's a weird one, I can go and say. And apparently there's a confirmation he's 87. So like not 90, but he's getting there.
Close.
All right. But with that said, though, yes, that should do it for our talk on The Adventures of Cliff Booth. And again, if you are interested in checking it out, then keep in mind it will be coming out on Netflix later this year. Now, we are going to go on to our first break. And when we do come back, we are going to go and talk about another trailer that made its premiere at the same time as the Super Bowl. But we actually got an animated one. And it's actually the long-awaited return. Well, actually, not that long-awaited, but it will be the return of some animated icons. So stay tuned for that, and we're going to check out some monsters. And we are back. Now, for our next trailer that we got, and the second and the technically final trailer that was the big reveal during the Super Bowl, I have one question that I want to go and ask. Tony, do you mind if I ask you, what are your thoughts on the Despicable Me franchise?
I never really got into it. I've seen the first two Despicable Me movies. Didn't hate them or anything, but I never felt the need to watch any more of them. I've never seen any of the Minions branded movies. I've ridden the ride at Universal a few times, but just because it's a ride, you know, when you're at Universal, you want to do everything there is there. I think a little bit of the Minions go a long way, shall we say. I think they're funny for like a minute or so, and then they just start getting annoying. So not really my cup of tea.
Oh boy. Well, if they're only entertaining for about a minute, I don't know how would you react for 2 minutes worth.
This teaser trailer is the perfect length. Yeah.
So with that said, let's go ahead and check out the trailer for the upcoming Minions movie, Minions and Monsters.
Oh, you see those large, heavily armed men?
And that was Minions and Monsters, to which the movie is going to be coming out in theaters on July 1st. So, Tony, how was that taste of the Minions for you?
That sure was a trailer for a Minions movie, all right. There were definitely a whole bunch of those little yellow bastards all over the place. I mean, look, Illumination in general might be my least favorite current animation studio. I haven't seen a ton of their movies, admittedly, but in general, it feels like they're the only major animation studio, or at least that purports to be a big, major, important animation studio that feels like they're making movies strictly to entertain hyperactive children. And they do that job very well. I mean, there's certainly a place for that, I think, but you know, the best animated features appeal to people of all ages. You know, Pixar, Disney, even DreamWorks is good at making, you know, movies that appeal to everybody. And Illumination movies just always feel like if there's a creative choice between entertaining everyone and just entertaining little children who are hyperactive, they'll choose the latter every time. It feels like every joke they make is just, you know, the most... Some of them are well executed, but it seems like they're all just hacky clunkers. Like, oh, it's the mummy. Oh, the Minions uses the mummy's bandages as toilet paper. That's a joke. Well, yeah, I've seen that joke before. It's, you know, but you know, maybe a little kid hasn't seen that joke before, so that's fine for them. But you know, not for the rest of us. You know, even compared to other movies that are clearly for hyperactive children, like you know, the movie Dog Man that came out about a year ago, that's very much a movie for hyperactive children, but the tone of the jokes are so absurdist that it also appeals to just anyone with an absurdist sense of humor, while Illumination movies are just pure kid stuff. I mean, I don't begrudge the movies for existing or anything. I always just felt like I was too old for them.
Nah, I understand. Like, at best, I would say, like, with the Minions and Despicable Me, or even with Illumination in general, it can be an acquired taste. Like, it's more their business side that I feel like is a lot more admirable, because the amount of success that they could get is, like, absolutely insane. And
I almost feel like it's the opposite of an acquired taste, though. It's an unacquired taste. Like, if you've acquired, it's strictly for little hyperactive kids. If you've acquired any taste, you know, you're not gonna like the Illumination movies anymore. That's just how I feel, anyway.
No, that is fair. And I mean, for me personally, I lean in a little bit more positive with the with Illumination and with the Despicable Me franchise. I've been enjoying the movie so far. Even the fourth one, like, I was surprisingly entertained by it. But when it comes to Minions, however, I find them to be weaker, honestly. Like, they're not. I don't really find them as good as like when Gru and the three kids are like the stars of it. Like, yeah, you in the Despicable Me films, you only get minions in like certain doses, but in Minions, like with the Minion films, like, it's all about the Minions. It's nothing but that. And at that point, it's like, sometimes I kind of question if they would even be strong enough to carry an entire picture, because like, even when watching something like Minions Rise of Gru, for example, like, I know there are some people who do prefer that than the Despicable Me films, but for me, it's like, I don't know. It's just, I don't find them to be as strong.
I mean, the answer to that question, are they strong enough to support a whole movie? The answer is no, but that doesn't stop them.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like, they're already at movie number 3, which surprisingly, like, in here, they're taking a completely different direction with it, in which, like, now we're going even more backwards in time. Technically, canonically, this is the prequel to the prequel, where now, like, Gru is completely out of the picture. He's not there, and they just want to go and make a movie, and now they're involving Cthulhu and summoning monsters, essentially. Like, they're gonna turn this into a monster flick.
Yeah, the minions summon baby Cthulhu. I was not I was not expecting that from this trailer. I'll be perfectly honest. Do we know who
What?
voices baby Cthulhu?
No, there's nothing announced. I mean, like,
Okay.
it was like technically this was literally announced yesterday. I don't think even as we're recording this, it's been 24 hours since the announcement.
Really?
Like, we
Okay.
just learned that this is the
That
title.
this
It's
movie's even coming out.
Yeah, well, they've been oddly silent for like the longest time. Like, we knew that we were about to have a Minions movie, but we didn't know it was called Minions versus Minions and Monsters. We didn't know about Baby Cthulhu involved. We didn't know about any of those ideas.
Now, Minions and Monsters, that's the early 80s satanic panic movie starring Tom Hanks, right?
Probably.
No, it's Mazes and Monsters. That's what that is. From the same director as The Devil and Max Devlin, oddly enough. But yeah, and by the way, that director character in the trailer just looks like Illumination's Mario. It looks like they had the exact same, CG model that they used for Mario, but they dressed him up as a director. So that's cheap.
Although, funny enough, there's something about it.
Christoph Waltz is playing the director. That's interesting, at least.
Oh, really? Oh, is it confirmed?
Yeah.
Dang.
Well, that's someone in the chat saying that. I don't know if it's real or not, but that's cool if true.
You know, the funny thing is that I look at the director here, and funny enough, he actually looks more like Mario than Mario does in the Mario movie.
He really does.
Yeah, okay, that is a bit of a shocker there, but hey, I guess that they'll just roll with it. And kind of crazy too, considering that there is going to be a Mario movie coming out this year, also from Illumination.
Yeah, just 3 months earlier. So
so there is all that. But yeah, for me, it's like, I guess because it's still new, I'm still kind of registering that this is that this is happening, that this is what the next Minions movie is going to be about, that we're going to be getting all of that. So I still don't really know how to feel or if I'm really going to be on board. At best, I kind of feel like this is going to be a wait and see kind of thing, because so far in the trailer that we have seen, it's nothing but cartoons. It's basically like a straight up cartoony movie with the Minions like having a little bit of a plot of wanting to make a movie and trying to find monsters, and they're getting the help of a little Cthulhu. But still, is it going to work? I guess we're going to have to wait and see. But even I have to admit, I'm not going to keep my hopes up. Again, I've not been much of a fan of these Minion movies so far. I don't know if I'm personally that excited to see the movie. I don't know what to go and expect. Like, maybe this could turn... go on?
I don't see myself having any interest in seeing this movie, since I had no interest in seeing the first 2 Minion movies or the last 2 Despicable Me movies, or even the first 2 Despicable Me movies in theaters. I rented them both on DVD. So, it exists. I don't have to partake in it. It's one of those things.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that's the best way to put it, is that it exists. I think, like, for you, the most that it would affect you is that maybe the next time you're going to be visiting Universal, you'll probably see a lot of like marketing or a lot of like promos or like big parties of like Minions and Monsters.
It kind of astounds me that there's been so many Despicable Me and Minions movies, because these movies are just tailored so much to hyperactive 7-year-olds, and the first Despicable Me movie was 2010, which is 16 years ago at this point. I mean, the franchise itself is twice as old as its target audience. So, but I guess, with streaming now, kids have more ability than ever to catch up on the whole franchise. And, Despicable Me has made so many movies, it's practically a TV series at this point on the big screen. So, whatever. It has its place, but it's not for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's mainly like from the massive popularity. And I mean, before K-pop Demon Hunters, it was the Despicable Me films that have been dominating Netflix.
Oh, sure.
Like
sure.
they played a big role in like carrying the streamers back in order to become massive. So, and like, not to mention that it is still going to be going. I think I heard reports there's going to be a 5th movie. I could be wrong, but like they're still planning on making more of these Despicable Me features.
You know, if the cash cow keeps milking, why stop? You know, why keep pressing on the gas? Because why press on the brakes if it's a money machine?
Yeah, that is fair. So with all that said, if you are interested in checking out Minions and Monsters, then keep in mind that the movie shall be released in theaters on July 1st. And with that said, now I would like to pass this on to the chat wall, and I'd like to ask you all, what did you all think about Minions and Monsters? Did you guys actually enjoy the trailer? Are you guys pretty iffy about it? Let me know what you all think. And oh boy, do people have a lot to say on this. All right, let's see. Even as someone who does enjoy the Despicable Me movies, this honestly didn't fully impress me. The idea of having it take place before the original Minion movie is strange. Visually, it doesn't really offer anything new, and the humor wasn't the best. Overall, it didn't fully impress me, and I do think the Despicable Me franchise is now starting to overstay its welcome. Honestly, I am way more excited for the Mario Galaxy movie coming out in a couple of months. That really has me hyped. All right, let's see now. Okay, let's go with this. Here we go again. We are getting another Minions movie this summer. All I have to say is that the plot about the Minions and monsters seems interesting, but I am more excited for Hoppers and the Super Mario Galaxy movie than Minions. Also, why are they playing my favorite Blackpink song? That belongs to stuff like K-pop Demon Hunters, not Minions or Hotel Transylvania. Oh, the K-pop Demon Hunters consequence. I think that's something we got to get used to. In the marketing, we're going to hear so much more K-pop songs.
Oh, no question.
Yeah, I didn't know what to expect with this movie, but it does look pretty fun. Not everything works, like how being set in the 1920s has me questioning where this fits into the timeline, but the Minion comedy is still cute, and the design of the monsters are pretty creative, or very creative. I'm not as hyped for this one as I am for Mario Galaxy, but I am going to watch this one for a good laugh. Hell, if they keep this going to different time periods, we can finally see who they served in 1949 or in 1939 and 1945. Oh yes, that wonderful time period.
The Minions list. That'll.
Oh my God! That. Imagine the day when they're gonna answer that question when they'll have the balls. Let's see. This is a movie that exists. That's all I have to say for this movie. I guess we just won't bring up where Gru is or something. Honestly, 2026 looks to be a pretty weak year for animation, or at least animated films. Like, the only animated movies I'm really interested in this year are Hoppers, Toy Story 5, and The Legend of Aang: The Last Airbender. Wildwood as well, but I'm concerned about the treatment of stop-motion animators at the studio. I like the first Minions movie, mainly for the villains. All right. Let's see. Honestly, I used to be a fan of the franchise, but at this point, it's really becoming the new Ice Age. The elements with the monsters may be cool, but there was nothing in this trailer that really made me laugh because the Minion shtick is just getting old. And it feels like this and Despicable Me 4 that they really want to be cartoons and TV shows, that they forget that they're movies, especially if you've read that interview about the 4th film. Yeah, that's honestly one thing I'm always shocked about when it comes to Despicable Me and Minions. It's like, why is it have they not made a series yet? You'd think, like, with the formula of either Gru or Minions, like, it would be perfect.
Well, the movies are the series, essentially. I mean, every couple of years they release a new feature film, and you know, honestly, a TV series just probably wouldn't be as profitable for them as the movies are. So there's your answer.
Yeah, I suppose that is true, but it's kind of weird now thinking that, like, now we're at the point where with every, you know, like, every time there's an Olympic year, we also got to have a Minion year. also.
Right.
or not even that, but it's like every time there's like not just the Olympics, but also like a year with the elections, we also need Gru and the minions to show up.
Always with their election interference. Yes.
Oh yes.
Sure, that's happened at least a few times.
Oh, that's
Those
that
dastardly
would,
minions.
yo, forget about World War II. Let's ask the question, who is it that the minions are serving now? If not, like without Gru, who would they be serving now?
I think we all know the answer to that. It explains so much.
Yo, plot twist. In the Epstein files, all those names, those are just minion names.
Oh boy. No, I feel like the minions would be that's a weird kink. The Epstein Island, they were keeping the minions enslaved as well as young girls. What the hell are we talking about?
Oh, let's not go down that rabbit hole. Let's not go that
this. What did we do with our lives that this is what we're talking about?
Abort mission. Oh, geez, we need to get out of that one. Jeez. All right, anyways, let's rinse that off with something else here. Well, to be frank, I've always loved the Illumination films, but this time, this is not really catching on this time. Granted, I will admit this does seem like a fun watch since the jokes were funny and very creative with all the monstrous ideas and the themes of B-movies, if that's where it's going with. Tell you the truth, even if this doesn't become good, I could see this becoming something better than Monsters vs. Aliens. That I know I'll like. Not the best, but hopeful. Well, there is at least some optimism.
Sure.
All right, I think I'll read one more comment or two more, and then we'll be good to go. So, this Minions movie is something. This reminds me of Hotel Transylvania, but a bit better. The animation looks the same as last time, and also the monsters movie, the monster movie making a plot line. Is as similar as other animated movies, I think. But overall, it's all right, and maybe it could have some interest. Also, have you watched Saber Sparks' video regarding the Rodfellow movie? No, I honestly haven't yet. Let's see. I'll read one more comment, and I'll go... okay, right over here. I'll be real here. I'm much more excited for the Super Mario Galaxy movie more so than another Minions movie. The trailer we got isn't all too bad, but not enough to make me impressed. The animation is fine, the humor is all right, and the monsters are kind of look cool, but that's about it. I don't mind another one, but who knows if it'll be good. I find it funny how Kevin Stewart and Bob are not the main characters this time around. Well, I mean, technically, I guess it is a prequel to the prequel, so it is even before their time. So with all that said, if you guys at least have some kind of interest on Minions and Monsters, because I will admit the enthusiasm doesn't feel that strong here, then all you have to do is just wait until it comes out in theaters on July 1st. And with that said, we're going to go on to our next break, and when we do come back, we are going to go and catch up from what I haven't been able to talk about last week, and we are going to go and pay homage to a legendary comedic actress, so stay tuned for that. Welcome back. Now, when it comes to our next story, or the next couple of stories technically, we're going to go and catch up a bit on some of the big entertainment news that I wasn't able to go and talk about last week, considering that, well, I kind of skipped last week, but we're going to go and get back into it. And I know there have been a few things that did occur, including the National Film Registry that did finally add in 25 more films to the Library of Congress, including films such as Clueless, John Carpenter's The Thing, The Karate Kid, and of course, The Incredibles. But the next story that I'm going to talk about here is the saddest news that did come out last week. Tony, I'm sure you remember when you first heard about the news. How did you feel?
Absolute shock. It was, and it was devastating. I mean, you know, if you had asked me just a day earlier which cast member of SCTV I thought was most likely to die next, I would have guessed Martin Short before Catherine O'Hara. You know, it felt like it came so out of nowhere. I know she was 71 years old, but she always had such a She always had such a middle-aged energy to her, if that makes any sense.
Mhm.
She didn't. It felt like she had at least a couple more decades left. So yeah, this this is such a shock. The chat is saying my mic is low now.
Yeah, it's
Hang
just
on.
yeah, your gain is not strong.
Okay, I just turned up my gain. Is that better?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Now we can hear you.
Okay, good.
Okay, but yes, yeah, it is devastating to hear. So with that said, let's get into it and discuss about the passing. Whoops, that's not what I want to show. Yes, of Catherine O'Hara. Yes, the comedic Canadian actress has been announced to have passed away at the end of January at the age of 71. Now, what is shocking, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but even though it's been a little while now, it's been over a week since she lost her life, we don't fully know what actually happened. We don't know specifically what was the cause of death. All we do know is that she is gone. Now, of course, for anybody who is familiar with Catherine O'Hara, she is known to have played in many fan favorite movies. Of course, she has appeared in After Hours. She was the mom in the first two Home Alone movies, and she also made an appearance in the Beetlejuice films, as well as appearing in major series. Like she made her big debut when oh, actually, hold on a sec. It just got revealed. Okay. It's just now that it actually got revealed. Holy crap. So we got some breaking news here. And apparently, according to my source here on Variety, it says here Catherine O'Hara's cause of death has been revealed to be a pulmonary embolism, which with rectal cancer as an underlying condition, according to TMZ, which obtained her death certificate Monday. She died on Friday, January 30th, at her Los Angeles home after being hospitalized early that morning with an illness. Paramedics have been called to her home at 4:48 a.m. that morning, according to Page 6. Her agency, CAA, said that O'Hara died after dealing with a brief illness. So, okay, that seems to be our answer right there. Is because of a pulmonary embolism. Dang, that is unfortunate. But to go back to what I was talking about here with Catherine O'Hara, yes, she has appeared in many beloved movies like the Beetlejuice films and the first two Home Alones, as well as being in major TV shows, including the original SCTV and being in Schitt's Creek. But also, she has been prominent in terms of voice acting and has played numerous of beloved characters in many different animated projects. Of course, probably the most well-known one being Sally from The Nightmare Before Christmas. But on top of that, she has also provided her voice in many other different projects. And I'll just quickly switch here to the Wikipedia page of Catherine O'Hara, where it also states that she has provided her voice in Rock and Rule, the Pippi Longstocking movie. She played Ludmilla in Bartok the Magnificent, as well as providing her voice in Chicken Little, Over the Hedge, Monster House, Brother Bear 2. She was also in Barbie in the 12 Dancing Princesses. She was also in the 2009 Where the Wild Things Are movie, A Monster in Paris. Of course, she was also in Frankenweenie as three characters. She was also Grandma Frump in the 2019 Addams Family movie. She was the old version of Marnie in the English dub of When Marnie Was There. She was also she also provided her voice in Pixar's Elemental and also The Wild Robot. Not to mention that she was also one of the narrators alongside Eugene Levy for the Epcot attraction in Walt Disney World, Canada, Far and Wide. So yeah, Tony, just out of curiosity, do you have like any special memories related to the works of Catherine O'Hara?
I've got a bunch of them. The first time I ever saw her in anything was, of course, Home Alone, as I'm sure it was for many people of my generation. She's just absolutely amazing. The perfect, prototypical panicked suburban mom. The scene where she's panicked at the airport and trying to basically yell her way onto a flight to Chicago. On the one hand, she's being a Karen about it, but on the other hand, she plays that balance of being genuinely passionate about it, to the point where you can tell she's irritating the hell out of everyone around her, but also relatably so. Like, she did screw up very dramatically, and she's trying to do whatever she can to get out of the situation, and she plays the mix of both real relatable panic but also finding the laughs in it as well. She was just tremendous at that, and also, fairly shortly after seeing Home Alone, I saw Beetlejuice for the first time, where she was equally amazing, playing a very, very different kind of mom. And I remember just how shocked I was as a kid to learn that she was also the voice of Sally, because I did not pick up on that at all the first few times I saw that movie. Just the amazing range on her, the ability to play, pitch perfect portrayals of a stressed out suburban mom, and a pretentious rageaholic art snob, and a sullen, insecure goth girl, all with equal brilliance. And, of course, later she was an MVP of the Christopher Guest mockumentaries, Waiting for Guffman, Best in Show, A Mighty Wind for Your Consideration, where, again, she played 4 very different characters across those 4 films, even though they were all the same director and the same comic tone very much. And mostly improvised movies, so she had to come up with her dialogue on her own, with minor nudges, of course, but to just come up with such complete characterizations of these very different characters. She was always tremendously talented at that. I mean, in the mid 2000s, SCTV finally came out on DVD, and I bought a couple of those sets, and that's where I really discovered the full breadth of her range. She got her start on SCTV, playing everyone from Brooke Shields to Katharine Hepburn. She was just amazing. Everyone on SCTV was amazing, but like Linda Carter, just after she died, shared a clip on her Facebook page of Catherine O'Hara playing Linda Carter on SCTV in a sketch where she's dressed as Wonder Woman for an interview, but still bemoaning the fact that everyone typecasts her as Wonder Woman, that she can't get any other non-Wonder Woman work while she's wearing the Wonder Woman outfit, and the interviewer, played by Dave Thomas, is just kind of being a perv. It's a very funny sketch, and she was so fantastic on SCTV, and fantastic in her entire film and TV career. She was one of those actors who always elevated everything she was in. Every project she involved herself with got just a tiny bit better because she involved herself with it, or at least a tiny bit better. And of course, her later acclaimed award-winning work on Schitt's Creek, which I've embarrassingly seen very little of. I've never watched all of Schitt's Creek beginning to end. I probably should at some point, but yeah, just an absolutely devastating loss, and she will be very dearly missed.
No, absolutely. I think one thing that I feel,
and I didn't know, I didn't even know about the Epcot attraction for some reason. The version of the Canada show that I'm still familiar with is the Martin Short one from a few years ago. I've never seen the one with her and Eugene Levy. I'll have to do that next time I'm in Florida.
Yeah,
if it's still there.
Well, it was a pretty recent update, because I was at Disney World a few years ago, and they did update it to have that version. Like, you don't see them in there. It's just like Eugene Levy and Catherine O'Hara narrating about like what's around.
They're just narrating it, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but one thing I will say about Catherine O'Hara is, like, what makes her very admirable as an actress is that she does have this absolute wide range, but she's very consistent in terms of her performance and with her comedy, especially, she can be placed in whichever scenario, and she knows how to really make the most out of those scenes. And honestly, as an animation guy, I feel like there are plenty animated examples, and not to mention that even like as the years go by, like she could still be very consistent with her performance and with her comedy. Like even in the recent stuff that she was in, like Elemental, for example, playing as Wade's mother, being like another motherly role, but like now she's like very emotional, where she would like instantly cry at whichever situation may occur. Like she was always great whenever she would go and show up, and whenever we see like Ember and Wade actually meet up with his parents and stuff. So those are definitely fun. And even in The Wild Robot, like, my God, like we've been listening again and again. She always ends up with a lot of mother roles, actually.
Yeah. Well, she was that's how Hollywood typecasts a lot of actresses, sadly. But she was great at it. I mean, she was a mother in real life, so she, really understood what it takes to raise a child, and she was just a consummate actress. She could do anything a script demanded of her, and she just got it. And I've heard, obviously when she passed away, her colleagues just, came out of the woodwork to praise her and talk and grieve for her, and not an unkind word was said about her. She was just always absolutely professional, always just a delight as a person. And that's why she was so brilliant in many ways. I think it was Michael McKean who said something along the lines of, she knew how to play selfish, arrogant people because she was such a selfless, humble person. She knew how to find darkness and humanity in her roles because she was just the opposite in real life. So yeah, she's just a fantastic person and a fantastic actor, and yeah, I'm definitely gonna miss her.
Yeah, same here, honestly. Like like she really is that kind of actor where like there's at least one role that has really made an impact. Just out of curiosity, Tony, like I know you've already mentioned a few, but do you have a personal favorite? Like what would be the one role that would stand out as like, this is who I'll remember Catherine O'Hara?
Well, I think probably her most iconic role was as Kate McAllister in Home Alone. Like when I think, just partly because that was the first thing I ever saw her in. Like, to me, when Catherine O'Hara comes to mind, that's the first role that comes to mind for me, just because that was such a childhood favorite. But I would have to say her funniest and most entertaining role has got to be Delia Dietz. Just her opening scene, she is just such a force of nature when she comes into that house and, berates the movers for messing up her sculptures and such, and yelling at Winona Ryder, like, I am going to make this house. I'm going to make the best of it if I have to, blah, blah, blah. Or just that scene where, I think Glenn Shaddock's also R.I.P. Well, we lost him a while ago, but still R.I.P. When I think Glenn Shaddock's like, so what happened to the old tenants? And she just very flatly and coldly says, they died. just that line reading of those two simple words, they died. This character could not care less. It is such a fantastic line reading of that. And yeah, she's just, so yeah, Delia Dietz probably her funniest role. And it's also just, she plays to a T the Deo scene, the scene where she's being possessed to lip sync Deo, and she has no idea what's happening, but she's still doing it anyway and doing all the dance movements. She plays the perfect balance of that. It is magnificent to behold. Yeah, there was always, I mean, it sounds cliche, but there was always just magic when she was on screen.
Yeah, and if I may bring up some animated examples, I think for me, like, two standouts for her. One would actually be Elemental. Like, it's a very recent one, but I think like it does highlight so much of like her comedic talents as well. But also another one that I think really does stand out for me is Sally. Now, even though that's not her funniest role, it is definitely her most heartfelt. The one where she would go and express, where she would really go and express her love to Jack, where basically like she cares for the guy. She wants to make sure that he's okay. He doesn't push the Christmas aspect too far. Like, she really does. Like, in a way, Sally carries like most of the heart of the entire picture.
She not only carries the heart of this picture of The Nightmare Before Christmas, but a couple of years ago, I covered The Nightmare Before Christmas on my podcast, and one of my guests, Gabby Tyrell, my good friend, pointed out that Sally is the most misrepresented character in the whole movie, because in every piece of merch you see of Sally, and there's been a lot of Nightmare Before Christmas merch, she's always depicted as this kind of frail waif who's just, oh, Jack, basically like one of the Disney princesses or something. And in the actual movie, that's not who she is at all. That's kind of her outward appearance, but she's always sabotaging,
Dr. Finkelstein?
Dr. Finkelstein, she, putting the poison in his soup and stuff and tricking him. And she's the one who saves Santa in the movie. She figures out what's going on. She seduces Oogie Boogie by detaching her leg and all that. She actually knows that, stealing Christmas is a bad idea and tries to tell Jack, and he's just completely oblivious to her, typical male. And, Sally actually gets things done. Like Sandy Claus says in that movie, she's the only one who makes any sense in this insane asylum. Listen to her. And he's right, God damn it. And Catherine O'Hara brought all that to the character. And in fact, she was so effective at playing her as, just at projecting the sort of naive waif, exterior that it tricked the whole audience. Now people think that's what Sally's about. When you actually watch the movie, that's not what she's about at all. So Sally knows what's up, and she gets stuff done. God damn it. And also Catherine O'Hara did her own singing for Sally. When she sings Sally's song, that heartbreaking, I feel there's something in the wind. That is Catherine O'Hara's voice. She had a beautiful, beautiful singing voice. I mean, I've heard, that song, Sally's song, has been covered by like Fiona Apple and Amy Lee from from Evanescence, I think.
Oh yeah.
And they all do it very well, but I think Catherine O'Hara still does the best version of it. I mean, her voice is just as good as those covers, as far as I'm concerned, from these professional singers renowned for their amazing singing voices. I mean, that's how good she was. She was, God, again, such a devastating loss.
Not to mention that in the movie, she was also Shock. Like she double role and double singing as well. And like you could
and because I always have to bring this back around to my hyperfixation. She and Weird Al have something in common, because I'm such a massive Weird Al fan. A few years ago, there was a live Nightmare Before Christmas show.
Yes.
Where they perform at some venue in Los Angeles. It was like a stadium gig. I don't know exactly where it was, but it was somewhere in Los Angeles. And I guess Catherine O'Hara couldn't make it. I don't know. Maybe I think maybe she was shooting Schitt's Creek in Canada or something. I don't know. But she couldn't make it, so they got Weird Al to voice Shock when they performed Kidnap the Sandy Claus. So it was Paul Rubens, Danny Elfman, and Weird Al instead of Catherine O'Hara. So they have that in common, at least. But yeah, she played both Sally and this completely, again, her range. She played this polar 180 character in the same movie. this agent of chaos.
No, definitely a very talented woman and a very unfortunate loss here. So
Absolutely.
honestly, with Catherine O'Hara, may she rest in peace, and hopefully her legacy will forever live on. Now, if you have any words you would like to go and express about Catherine O'Hara, write it down into the chat wall. And
I mean, we know her legacy will live on because she was in 3 Christmas movies, and those never die. So,
oh yeah, that is true.
Not
just Christmas movies, but Halloween movies as well.
Oh yeah, and let me tell you, the wrong Home Alone 2 cast member died, and I'll leave it at that.
Hopefully it'll come soon.
Hopefully, we'll see. We'll see, but
knock on wood. Anyways, this really is a tragic loss. Catherine O'Hara was such a legend, and she really played her role so well. I'll always remember her for the first 2 Home Alone movies, with how much of a great mother she was in those. Sally in The Nightmare Before Christmas and Delia Dietz in both Beetlejuice movies. All I could say is rest in peace, Catherine O'Hara, and may her legacy live on forever. All right. It's sad to hear Catherine O'Hara's passing away from a rectal cancer. I remember watching my favorite movies that have Catherine O'Hara, like Beetlejuice and Home Alone, as well as voice actors such as Sally from The Nightmare Before Christmas, Susan Frankenstein from Frankenstein, Pinktail from The Wild Robot, and even voices Mrs. Walters from Monster House. And seeing this really broke my heart. May she rest in peace. Let's all come together and sing and dance to Dale for her. Oh boy, that'll be one heck of a funeral.
and imagine having the 2 songs that are most associated with you are Deo and Sally's song. That is such again, the range.
Absolute polar opposites right there. Yeah. Although, to be fair, though, I don't think she's the one who was singing Deo.
No. But very memorable lip sync job.
Oh, yeah. No, definitely great. Anyways, I found out during my dinner celebrating my brother's birthday, and this is honestly heartbreaking. Catherine O'Hara, I think, was one of the quintessential mother character actors out there, and her many roles in both animation and live action will always have a place in my and many others' hearts. I'll admit, I too, as a kid, also never knew that she was the voice of Sally in Nightmare, was her, or that it was her, considering how different her voice was in that. May her legacy live on forever. Let's see. To be honest, Catherine was an actress I nearly forgot about up until I looked up at her. And yes, to say she was quite a talented woman. I even figured if they ever made a real Home Alone follow-up, she would play a role to show guidance to Kevin's actions when he became a father. Even animated-wise, whether it be a soft, timid Sally, the rambunctious, fun Lumilla, and the crazy dragon animation, or the comedically emotional Brooke Ripple, she truly was the mother of talent and comedy. May she rest in peace. All right, I'll read.
I'm pretty sure, unless I'm forgetting something, I think Elemental is the only Pixar movie that I still to this day have not seen. I should rectify that at some point.
No, you should, honestly. I don't think it's the best one, but it is worth watching at the very least.
Sure.
It's very heartbreaking that we lost another amazing actress, especially this year. There's no denying that Catherine O'Hara is such a talented actress and even a mom figure. I'll forever know her as the voice of many moms in Chicken Little, Elemental, Over the Hedge, Monster House, and The Wild Robot. May her sweetheart and talented range live on forever in our hearts. Her impact should not be forgotten. All right, so with that said, now that we could go and wipe out some of those tears, we're going to go on to our next break. And when we do come back, we're going to go and talk about some tech trouble. I know we've already had some over here, but no, I'm talking about from the major corporations, especially when there is one instance that really pissed off animators. So stay tuned for that. And we are back. Now, for our next story, we're going to dive into some controversy. Tony, since you are an entertainer in the Los Angeles area, you have some friends who work in animation, correct?
I do indeed, yes. And even more friends who aspire to work in animation.
So I'm sure you've heard about this particular news that really got some controversy going on and really got this particular company in some serious trouble.
Yeah, I've heard about this. But yes, please go on.
Yes, and of course, chances are if you're listening or watching this, you've heard about this as well. I am talking, of course, about the Adobe Animate controversy. Yes, there was one little moment at the start of February in which Adobe made a sudden announcement that they were ready to go and shut down their animation software, Adobe Animate. In fact, to go and read you from my source here on Animation Magazine, it states, animators received unwelcome news Monday when entertainment tech giant Adobe announced that it will be discontinuing its popular 2D digital animation software, Adobe Animate, after more than 25 years. The program will no longer be offered from March 1st, 2026, although the app will still work and enterprise customers will continue to receive support through March 1st, 2029, according to the company's help desk. And on top of that, it's not just the fact that they would just stop offering Adobe Animate to people, but just switching onto another source on PC Mag, it even says here, as of March 1st, the company will stop accessing new signups. Existing users can continue using the software beyond that date, but technical support will end on March 1st, 2027. To avoid losing work, users must download files before the technical support ends. So by that point, Adobe pretty much told people that if you want to use Adobe Animate, then you have until next year in 2027, and then everybody would just lose all access. Like, it's not just that it would no longer be available, it would be the fact that people would no longer have any form of access to Adobe Animate, pretty much telling people whatever work you got, well, just go and export it to like MP4 or in another different file so that at least you still have it. But in terms of the work in progress in there, that would have been lost forever. So you can imagine. Go on. Oh, sorry, Tony.
I'm sure that stance from Adobe will last for at least 3 hours.
Oh yeah. So you can imagine that the backlash was massively huge. So much so that it didn't take long until a day later when Adobe decided to go and back out of it. So at this point right now, because of the significant backlash that Adobe had received from that news, they decided to switch things up and say that the access to Adobe Animate is gonna stay. They're not gonna go and completely remove it. I think really the big change is that they said that they're no longer gonna go and make any major updates to it. They're not going to go and make any new versions of it, if I remember correctly. But just to go and read you here, it pretty much states that following social media backlash over plans to shut down its 2D animation software, Animate, Adobe has reversed course and decided to keep the service running. Instead of a complete shutdown, Adobe Animate will now be in maintenance mode for existing and new customers. It will receive security and bug fixes, but no new features. It even goes on with a statement right over here where it says, we are not discontinuing or removing access to Adobe Animate. Animate will continue to be available for both current and new customers, and we will ensure you continue to have access to your content. There is no longer a deadline or date by which Animate will no longer be available. These are changes from what we shared in our original email, in which it says in their updated support page. There's even a member of its community team, Mike Chambers, put out an apology by saying, yesterday, Adobe shared an email with Adobe Animate customers on the future of Animate. What we share did not meet our standards and caused a lot of confusion and angst within the community. On behalf of Adobe, I want to apologize. So yeah, that was that was quite a commotion there.
As Mo said in that one Prohibition episode of The Simpsons, yeah, that was a scary couple of hours.
That literally was it. That's honestly what I thought about, like, when I saw the update, because the funny thing is I was talking to a friend of mine who is an animator, and he messaged me just straight up saying that Adobe killed his career. Like, that was his first immediate reaction, considering that he does use Adobe Animate in order to go and create his projects. But if the access is gone, then he would really have nothing else left to go and actually animate with. Not to mention losing the access, like, it would really set him back where the projects that he has working right now, like, he would have lost like all the progress that he would have done. Like, especially if you would go, like, especially if they demand that you have to go and export it. Like, what about the file itself in which, like, you can actually work on, like, the thing that you can actually go and animate onto? Like, that, like, I can imagine not just for him, but for many other animators out there, like, it's kind of a terrifying moment to pretty much imagine that the software that you're dependent on for your job is suddenly, like, just going to be gone for good.
Yeah, and especially since animation takes so long to do, it takes forever to animate even a single shot. So, you know, to suddenly say, oh, you've got a month, you've got a month left before the program, or, well, I guess technically a year, but you know, after that year, you're screwed, basically. I mean, I personally, just on a personal level, don't really have a dog in this fight because I'm not an animator. I've never used Adobe Animate. But I do know that, you know, one day in the morning, I don't even think it was a full day. I think in the morning, all my animator friends on social media were freaking out about this program getting shut down. And then that evening, literally like 12 hours later, the news came, oh, okay, we've reversed our decision. We're not doing this. And so yeah, literally that was a scary couple of hours. And yeah, it's just a bad thing to do to any customers. You know, people like to use the same program over and over again. Even if you rationalized it as, well, they can just get a new program. They can do, you know, something else. You know, one of their competitors will step up and offer a better program. Well, you know, that's fine, but people like knowing how to use things, you know, and when they're used to using the same program and they learn how to be experts on it, they don't want to suddenly have to learn something new. You know, like, what if they're like, yeah, the program will be, if you already have it, it'll be available for another year. But what if your computer shuts down? You know, what if you wake up in the morning and your computer has the blue screen of death and you have to get a whole new computer? Now that program won't be available to download anew. So, you know, so you're going to lose your work that way. It's just, it's just a bad thing. It's a stupid and horrible thing to do to your customers, and I'm glad they reversed the decision, and now they just look like idiots.
Yeah, and I mean, this is like, it's already bad enough that people are in bad terms with Adobe, especially when nowadays, like, they've been leaning more and more onto AI and pretty much being very dependent on having their newer versions of the softwares that they have, like, to go and, like, have AI and have all these AI features and stuff like that. Ugh. And I guess with Adobe Animate, like, with animators, considering they're not fans of using AI in general, I guess, like, they no longer have a purpose to go and actually keep that software. But, like, I'm even shocked in the first place that they even thought about having the idea of just wanting to get rid of Adobe Animate or no longer be a part of that software in general, like, no longer, like, providing any animation softwares, because you think that, like, with a company like Adobe Animate that is known for making creative software, that they would want to remain using animation. And not to mention that Adobe Animate has been used for major animation projects, like even in Back to Animation magazine, it even mentions that even, like, with its predecessor when it was called Flash, like there have been major companies that would go and use it. Like there was DHX that used it, like with My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, Fresh TV for the Total Drama series, William Street for some of the shows on Adult Swim, and even Nickelodeon would go and use it. So this is like a major software that many prominent studios have used. In fact, I this is one thing that I cannot confirm, but I've seen a lot of people talking about this, but some have stated that the reason why Adobe worked first course is because of Disney. Because like it wouldn't be surprising to know that Disney would also be using the software for some of their animation, especially for Disney television animation.
Yeah, that's what I figure. Is Disney television animation probably uses it?
Yeah, so I cannot confirm if that actually is the case. I don't know if it's actually because of Adobe Animate or I don't know if it's because of Disney that they changed the course on that decision, but yeah, so far it's just like it's just a move that it just makes things worse for Adobe and why people are having trust issues with them.
I mean, look, like I said, I don't use Adobe Animate. I do use Adobe Premiere to edit videos, and yeah, I'm not a fan of the Adobe company. Just some of the stuff they've done to their video editing software is just so stupid, and I don't like it. You know, I like literally, the last time I haven't upgraded my Adobe software that often. I just like using the same thing over and over again because I know how to use it already. But the last time I did update, I was like, all right, I'm getting the new version of Premiere. It's going to have so many more features than the last one. It had fewer features. I actually lost some abilities that I used to have on the old version of Premiere that I don't have anymore on the newer version. And you know, that honestly though, that upgrade was like 6 or 7 years ago, so it's possible they've changed it's possible they fixed those now, but I honestly don't care because I'm set in my ways. I've lived in the same apartment for 16 years now, 18 years. Good God, this coming summer. You know, I like it's just it's a pain in the ass to move, so I just stay where I am. You know, I'm that kind of person. So, you know, so yeah, to hell with Adobe. They're stupid and their products are stupid, and but you know, I know how to use them, so I'm stuck with them.
Nah, I understand, man. And, you know, the funny thing is when I was talking to my animator friend, he even told me, like, even though there was that relief that, you know, Adobe Animate is not going to shut down, he did tell me, however, that just in case he has to learn some of the other animation softwares like Clip Studio and stuff like that. And I don't blame him because if Adobe is going to be making these kinds of crazy decisions, then you kind of have to prepare in order to like change things up. Like I know you mentioned that there are going to be those people who will be very stubborn and they want to stick to their regular ways. And I'll admit, I'm guilty of this as well, considering that I've used Adobe, you know, I've used Adobe stuff like Adobe Audition, Adobe Premiere Pro, and Photoshop. I've been using that for like many years. But even nowadays, I'm starting to consider like maybe I should go and switch up. If I have to go and upgrade, then I might move to DaVinci because I've heard that's the new editing software that like people are really giving praise for.
You know, it's not even so much that people are stubborn or anything. It's just, you know, it takes time to learn new things, and that's time you don't always have, especially when you're continually creating content and you have to meet, you know, deadlines, self-imposed or otherwise.
Okay, yeah, maybe stubborn is a little bit of a harsh word, but basically, people are more habitual. I think that's I think that's a better way to put it, is that people are more habitual about it. But yeah, honestly, I think that's probably the best advice that I could go and give at this point with how unstable Adobe has been nowadays, especially when it comes to their dependence on AI and stuff like that. Right. I think I think really it's best to start learning a new software. Like if you're a creative,
if you're starting now, use DaVinci. Use something other than Adobe if you're starting out now.
yeah, exactly. Like I'm not saying do the switch immediately, because I know that can be a little bit jarring, but yeah, like if you're a creative out there, if you're an artist, if you're an animator, if you're a YouTuber, if you're a filmmaker, and you're still using Adobe softwares, now's the time to start considering to look into other options and start using those as well. I'm not saying to quit Adobe, but I am saying to stop being dependent on Adobe. I think that's the best way to put it.
If you can, you know, do what you got to do.
Exactly. So I think with that said, I'm going to go and pass this on to the chat wall. And now I want to ask you all, how do you feel about the whole controversy with Adobe Animate? And if you're someone who has used Adobe Animate or has used Adobe products, I would like to know what you think as well. Let's see. It's good that Adobe listened to the backlash and not going to discontinue Animate anytime soon, and I'm happy for that. But at the same time, as a Flash animator, it just pissed me off that I was freaking out for no reason, and I officially decided to stop using the program and decided to switch to Adobe Flash, maybe Flash CS5 or 6. Overall, damn you, Adobe. So yeah, I can imagine, like, yeah, I'm sure you're not alone in that sentiment. There are many people who felt that way. Like, I mean, like, again, my friend messaged me feeling like his career was like flashing before his eyes. Like, it just spelled doom, the fact that the software that he needed for his job was just gone. Let's see now. I'll say myself that I don't use Adobe Animate, but this was such a bad move. The fact that Adobe was close to discontinuing Adobe Animate, which was used by so many people in the animation industry for major and very well-known animation projects, is awful. I'm glad that because of the backlash, they did backpedal on it, but it makes them look bad. The moral is bullying major corporations work. This also makes me hope that people will also call out Discord for the recent policy changes. Oh, that's right. Have you heard the news about Discord?
I have not. No, what's up with Discord?
Today they announced now they want to do it globally, that they want to do the Face ID verification.
Oh, that's not good.
Yeah, so now people are pissed off with that, and hopefully, go on.
Now I'm glad I can't stand Discord. Like, the one time I tried using Discord, I just found, I don't know what it is, but just something about the Discord experience I just find viscerally intolerable. So I don't use Discord. A lot of my friends do, but it's just not for me.
Nah, it's fine. It's fair. It's basically like a little bit of a social. It's like if you turn Skype into a social media platform in a sense.
Yeah, that's an unholy Frankenstein's monster right there.
Yeah, sometimes it can lead to some pretty messed up results there. So I don't blame you for distancing yourself from that place. Let's see. Like Sonic says, that's no good. I don't use Adobe Animate since I mostly use Toon Boom Storyboard Pro for storyboarding, but closing down the beloved software is disrespectful for artists and animators, especially in studios, art schools, and production houses. And moving to another software like Moho is difficult, but Moho offers discounts for people using Animate. Thankfully, they decide to keep the software running, but artists, including me, still don't trust Adobe. Exactly. That's why I'm highly recommending that you don't become dependent on it. I'm not saying that you need to go and immediately quit it, but just make sure that you're no longer dependent, so that worst case scenario, if somehow Adobe decides to completely change their minds, you'll be ready for it. Let's see if there's there we go. My advice coming from a filmmaker and animator, and currently friends with a few animators and filmmakers: do not piss off animators. I guess Adobe didn't get the memo when they decided to shut down Animate in the first place. I always knew Adobe are the biggest scumbags when it comes to selling their products that I need to do when I make videos and school projects. Thankfully, I know backup programs for video editing I use just in case Adobe decides to bail. Oh, that's good. That's definitely good there. Let's see. I'll read one more comment and then we can go and move on to our final story. I still use Adobe for now, but in terms of animating, I am more into Toon Boom Harmony nowadays. I have to say, Toon Boom is a lot more useful than Adobe Animate. Oh, that is a great alternative. Like Toon Boom has often been considered to be an industry standard. Like, and that's also another benefit, like for aspiring animators or even professional animators. Like, actually have more knowledge on which softwares that you can use, because the more that you're able to go and use something like not just Adobe Animate, but also like Clip Studio or Toon Boom and stuff like that, the more likely that it'll be easier for you to find jobs. You'll be a lot more accessible to jump from like one studio to the next because you know how to just jump in and start working on the softwares to create their projects. All right, so I think with all that said, we're going to go on to one more break. And when we come back, we're going to go on to the grand finale. And this is going to be quite a finale, considering that we are about to enter the next chapter of Disney. So stay tuned for that.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you. We can all hear you, actually. It's finally on. And so, everyone, it is now time that we shall go and conclude this episode off with the grand finale. And for this finale, we are going to talk about the biggest entertainment news that happened this week. Something in which happened much sooner than we expected. I think it is safe to say that, Tony, we're both Disney nerds, and we all know it.
I've heard of Disney, yes. It's a company I'm vaguely familiar with.
Yes, I know, especially with the podcast of yours escaping from that vault. Yes.
I've vaguely heard of vaults, too, yes.
Exactly. So, from here, though, we have heard about this news for quite a long time, and especially throughout this decade, we've heard about the talks about who's going to be the successor, who is going to be the next CEO after Bob Iger. And after all the speculation, it seems that finally we have a chosen one. And Tony, just out of curiosity, are you surprised by this selection?
Not at all. I don't think anyone was really surprised by this. It seemed to be what most people were predicting and anticipating. Literally, if it had been anyone but this guy, people would have been surprised. Everyone was pretty confident. No, it's going to be tomorrow. It's going to be tomorrow.
Yeah, well, I guess that's pretty much the winner right there. So why don't we go and actually talk about the new Disney CEO, Josh D'Amaro. Yes, the Walt Disney Company has officially revealed that Josh D'Amaro, the current chair of Disney Experiences, which is their theme park division, has officially been named the next chief executive officer of the Walt Disney Company after Bob Iger. And this is a decision that will be happening much sooner, or at least the job position is going to be happening sooner than expected, because even though Bob Iger's contract officially ends at the end of this year, Josh D'Amaro will now be the new CEO starting March 18th. But that's not all, however, because there's another person who got a major promotion, and that is Dana Walden, in which she is currently the co-chairman of Disney Entertainment, but now she will be boosted on March 18th, where she's going to be the president and the chief creative officer of the Walt Disney Company, the first woman to ever do so, by the way. And there are a couple of quotes that I would like to go and read you. Oh, actually, no, before that, I want to go and answer immediately the question of what's going to be happening with Bob Iger, because technically he'll still be on board at Disney this year, but this is for sure going to be his last year before his retirement, where it states, reading from my source here, by the way, on the Walt Disney Company's website, it states, Bob Iger has provided extensive mentorship to the internal candidates throughout the succession planning process, and upon transition will continue to serve as senior advisor and a member of the Disney board until his retirement from the company on December 31st, 2026. And speaking of which, Bob Iger also got some comments about the two people that he has promoted. In terms of Josh D'Amaro, he stated, Josh D'Amaro is an exceptional leader and the right person to become our next CEO. He has an instinctive appreciation of the Disney brand and a deep understanding of what resonates with our audience, paired with the rigor and attention to detail required to deliver some of the most ambitious projects. His ability to combine creativity with operational excellence is exemplary, and I am thrilled for Josh and the company. As for Dana Walden, he states that Dana Walden is an excellent leader who commands tremendous respect from the creative community. Given that creativity is at the heart of everything Disney does, she is a wonderful choice to serve in this new leadership role. In the years since Dana joined Disney, she has accumulated great knowledge about the many facets of our businesses and brands, and is very well prepared to be president and chief creative officer. We also got one more quote I'd like to read here, specifically coming from Josh D'Amaro himself, in which he states, I am immensely grateful to the board for entrusting me with leading a company that means so much to me and millions around the world. Disney's strength has always come from our people and the creative excellence that defines our stories and experiences. There is no limit to what Disney can achieve, and I am excited to work with our team across the company and brilliant creative partners to honor Disney's remarkable legacy while continuing to innovate, grow, and deliver exceptional value for our customers and shareholders. I also want to express my gratitude to Bob Iger for his generous mentorship, his friendship, and the profound impact of his leadership. So, Tony, considering that you are a theme park enthusiast, I'm sure you've heard of the name Josh D'Amaro before. What are your thoughts on him prior to him being the CEO of Disney?
You know, Matt, one of the most common misconceptions about Disney adults, for lack of a better term, is our general feelings towards Disney executives. I am probably what you would consider a Disney adult. Most of my best friends are Disney adults. Many, many more of them are social media mutuals. I encounter Disney adults in some way, shape, or form pretty much every day, is what I'm saying. And across the board, we all absolutely despise Disney executives with the white-hot passion of a billion suns. Last year, when Kimmel got temporarily suspended and Disney adults en masse canceled their Disney Plus and Hulu accounts in protest, people were actually surprised at that. I was not surprised at all. I mean, look, say what you want about people who go to the parks 20 times a year and have walls full of Disney Funko Pops, but in my experience, 10 times out of 10, if those exact people came across Bob Iger drowning, they'd throw a rock instead of a rope. And if it was Chapek drowning, they'd dive in themselves just to hold him underwater until he stopped moving. Put it this way. If you've seen enough Disney movies, you know a villain when you see one. Now, I say all of this to emphasize just how extraordinary it is that Josh D'Amaro being selected as Disney's new CEO has received a mostly positive reception from the fans who usually absolutely despise Disney executives. But they seem to actually like Josh D'Amaro, so that should tell you something. Now, we'll see how long that lasts. We'll see how long people react to him. I mean, Disney fans liked Bob Iger too at first until we didn't. The really old school Disney adults liked Eisner at first until they didn't. It seems like ever since Walt died, Disney CEOs have operated on a 20-year cycle. Walt dies in the late 60s, his brother Roy takes over, eventually Roy dies and we get Card Walker and then Ron Miller. And at first, Walt dies in the 60s. At first, they just stay the course. They ask what Walt would have done. And, it looks like things are going okay. They release hits like The Jungle Book and The Love Bug. But then everything changes in the 70s. The company's fortunes get worse and worse. By the mid-80s, everything's fallen apart. And, I love you too, Gunnerman 1400 in the chat. But everything's fallen apart. They need a new CEO. That CEO is Michael Eisner. And for the first decade or so of his tenure, things are going great. They've got Roger Rabbit. They've got the Disney Renaissance. They've got lots of cool new park expansions. Then in the 90s, Euro Disney opens and flops, and Frank Wells is dead, and Eisner becomes afraid to spend too much money and anger the stockholders. There's massive budget cuts across the board. Everyone hates him. And in the mid-2000s, we need another reboot again. It's been another 20 years, so Iger takes over. His solution is just to buy everything. They buy Pixar, they buy Marvel, they buy Lucasfilm. It's an era of unprecedented prosperity for the mouse. They've got Frozen and Zootopia and the MCU and the Force Awakens and even more expansions at the parks. And then in the 2020s, to a lesser extent, but still, it feels like it all comes crumbling down again. The Star Wars sequel trilogy really doesn't stick the landing. People get tired of the MCU. There's too many live-action remakes. In 2023, Disney has their big 100th anniversary, and none of the movies they released that year do very well. And Chapek is such a disaster that Iger has to step back in, and now he's hated just as much. So, now it's the mid-2020s. Another 20 years has passed since Iger became CEO, and now we get a new CEO, Josh D'Amaro. And if trends continue, we'll probably get about a decade of D'Amaro being really cool and making smart decisions and expanding the companies in ways that serve the customers as well as the stockholders. But I'm just warning y'all, by the late 2030s, early 2040s, the bloom is going to be off the rose. Everyone's going to hate this guy again. It'll be time to start over again sometime in the mid 2040s. It's just, the wheels go round and round, folks.
Yes, it's the great Disney executive circle of life in a way.
Indeed it is. Not so buena.
Yeah, I will say, even I was surprised to see, even though the choice of Josh D'Amaro, okay, that's fine. I was a little bit hesitant because it's it didn't go great the last time you brought in the head of the theme parks to be the CEO, so I don't know.
Well, I mentioned that everyone saw this coming. I remember even back when Chapek was picked as Iger's first successor that didn't stick. But even back then, I remember seeing people hoping that he would pick D'Amaro over Chapek. People just really seemed to like the guy. People really seemed to like Josh D'Amaro in a way they never ever liked Chapek, even though Chapek outranked Josh D'Amaro. Chapek was very much next in line above Josh D'Amaro at that time. So from a business standpoint, it made sense, but people just didn't like Chapek nearly as much. So now people are getting what they want, and across the board, the reasons I keep seeing for why people think D'Amaro is a good pick is his charisma. He's a very personable, charismatic guy who, I don't know how much of this is genuine and how much is just a front, but he seems at least to legitimately enjoy just talking to people. He's the kind of guy who will go to the parks and literally just pose for selfies with random guests who recognize him. He was in charge of the parks back when COVID hit and parks had to be shut down for a while. And I remember reading about a cast member at the time talking about how Josh D'Amaro personally came down and talked to the cast members and addressed their concerns and had a big meeting with a bunch of them where it's kind of like a political town hall meeting almost, where he just took questions and really talked to them on a level that they seem to appreciate. So at least appearing like he was on their side through the whole thing. Now, I actually have a bit of a controversial take on D'Amaro, which is that I don't think he's all he's cracked up to be, honestly. I think, like I said, even if he is all he's cracked up to be, that's not going to last forever. But there's a couple of things about the guy that concern me a little. Number one, the biggest concern, the biggest red flag for me about Josh D'Amaro is that apparently he's not rejecting AI to the extent I really hope he would. He's actually he was actually personally involved with that deal between OpenAI and Disney. Now, he has made assurances that AI, he made some quote about, AI will not replace creativity at this company. We'll see how true that ends up being, because the whole damn purpose of AI is pretty much to replace creativity. But that to me is the biggest red flag in all of this. And also, people will point to the parks being such successes under him, and yes, the parks have been financially successful under Josh D'Amaro, but that hasn't always translated to guest experience. I mean, it was under Josh D'Amaro that they ditched FastPass in favor of Lightning Lane, which is much worse. It was under. It was under Josh D'Amaro's watch that the whole Galactic Star Cruiser debacle happened. Now, Chapek got a lot of the blame for it, but D'Amaro was in charge of the parks when that happened. He was in charge of that division of Disney. The simplistic narrative that I keep seeing is that Chapek has been responsible for everything people don't like about the parks now, and D'Amaro is responsible for everything people do like about the parks now. I don't know how true that is, honestly. I guess we'll see how he does. We'll see how he performs.
Yeah, the funny thing is that I remember when there was that quote going around of Josh D'Amaro talking about AI and that, people won't replace, or AI won't replace people and stuff like that. Right. And I was looking into it.
Slip there from him.
Yeah, a little bit, sorry. But the thing is that I looked into those comments, and while people were saying it was like, Josh D'Amaro hates AI, and I'm just there like, where did he say that exactly? Because he didn't put out a no or a yes or anything like that. It's like, it's more PR speak, like to go around it to not fully answer it. That I find to be a little bit suspicious.
He's trying to skirt the controversy and run and skate across that razor's edge, which is very typical for a CEO, but it's also sadly typical. I wish he would just come out and say to hell with AI, but that's probably not realistic because corporations, at least at the moment, still think AI is profitable, which I hope it isn't, and if it is, I hope it isn't for long. So anyway.
And the thing with Josh D'Amaro right now, it's like, at best, I feel like we're just going to be in a wait and see kind of attitude. That's like the most that we could expect. And yeah, it is true that with Josh D'Amaro, he has like this very solid, this very positive reputation where even Disney fans and even like those who are cynical towards Disney have more of a fond for Josh D'Amaro, especially like with his background. He's not like Bob Chapek where he just jumped from division to division in terms of like helping their businesses. Josh purely stuck with the theme parks. Like he started at the theme parks and then like grew his way up to being the head of it, and now he's going to be running Disney altogether. So maybe like just from that aspect, there could be people who do actually like him, but then there's also the factor of, is that actually gonna be a great thing? And like ultimately the big question like that people will really have is, how is Josh D'Amaro going to be that different from Bob Iger? And I haven't really seen that many discussions. The most that I've seen that people talked about is that apparently Josh D'Amaro actually enjoys the Muppets more than Bob Iger. So
that's what I heard. Yeah. But also I heard the same thing about Chapek. Mm-hmm. I heard people say, yeah, Chapek sucks, but at least he's a huge Muppets fan, and it didn't really lead to I mean, hopefully now that, D'Amaro has his thumb on the scale, hopefully that'll increase the likelihood of that amazing new Muppet Show reboot pilot actually getting picked up for a full series. That would be nice. But I mean, they'd be fools not to at this point. It's gotten the most positive reception of anything the Muppets have released since, geez, I'd have to go all the way back to the 90s. I mean, it would be stupid not to pick it up for a series at this point. And hopefully they do. We'll see.
Oh, absolutely. By the way, just a side note, I love that pilot. Oh my God.
It was so good.
I
agree.
It was so good. Yeah, and I agree. I think that like this might even be like the best thing for the Muppets since those movies from the 90s, like Muppets Christmas Carol and Muppet Treasure Island.
Oh, people in the chat, the best thing since like the 2011 movie and Muppets Most Wanted, for sure, I'd say, yeah.
Yeah.
Although I also really loved Muppets Haunted Mansion, but yeah, this is just a whole new level.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. So hopefully like that could actually be the first test to see like how he could do, how Josh D'Amaro can do. But if anything, if we're going to hear something about it, it'll most likely be at D23 later this year.
Oh yeah, for sure. And you know, like I said, the biggest difference between Bob Iger and Josh D'Amaro at the moment seems to be that people just like Josh D'Amaro as a person in a way they really don't like Bob Iger. And you know, who knows how much of that is genuine or more that Josh D'Amaro is just more photogenic and more and just more charismatic than Bob Iger. It might all be a front, but I hope it's not.
Yeah, go on.
Oh, and also you mentioned Dana Walden, her being promoted to president and CCO, chief creative officer. Again, like you said, the first time a woman has ever held that position that high in the company. I've seen people optimistic that this will lead to D'Amaro and Walden basically being the new Walt and Roy, or at least the new Eisner and Frank Wells, you know, of having that sort of relationship where one pushes against the other and there's alchemy there. So yeah, let's hope.
Yeah, like ultimately this year, it's going to be like a true test to see what the new direction that Disney is going to take now that it's going to be led by Josh and Dana. Maybe there's going to be a massive improvement. Maybe we will see like there might be some issues or maybe things won't change. But like this is just going to be like this year is just going to be our first taste to see how it's going to go. And also, I'm just wondering, are you surprised like how soon this is going to happen?
A little surprised. Yeah, I know. I know Iger's been wanting to get the hell out of Disney for a while now. He tried once, and then Chapek screwed up so badly. He was like, come on, let me take the wheel back, Junior. And I know that, you know, he said when he was taking over for Chapek, like, this is only going to last a couple years. I want a proper successor soon. And even back then, people were saying, oh, it's going to be Josh D'Amaro. I'm honestly surprised it's taken this long to announce that it's going to be Josh D'Amaro, since that was always the clear pick. But yeah, I guess Iger just decided, you know, we want this to be a quick transition. You know, I don't want to overstay my welcome here.
Yeah, that is fair. So hopefully we'll see how things are going to go now that Josh D'Amaro and Dana Walden will be taking charge of Disney. So
I will say it was very, very crass of Josh D'Amaro to immediately give himself his own land at the parks. D'Amaro land.
Oh,
I mean, come on. You know, wait at least a little longer.
Come on, bruh. Oh boy. All right, anyways, now I would like to go and pass this on to the chat wall, and I'd like to know what you all think about Josh D'Amaro being the next CEO of the Walt Disney Company. Do you think he's going to be better? Do you think he's going to be worse than Bob Iger? Let me know your thoughts. Let's see now. A new chapter has begun for Disney. Josh becoming CEO wasn't surprising, but Dana Walden stepping in a role similar to Frank Wells was also unexpected. Josh is well regarded by cast members for his approachable leadership and taking feedback to heart. Hold on, I almost lost my... Okay, there we go. While Dana brings a strong creative track record from Hulu, whether they lead the House of Mouse towards a bright future or not remains to be seen. We can only hope that their first year will leave a positive reception. Cross fingers. All right. I'm honestly a little bit of a wait and see kind of attitude. While I could definitely see Josh D'Amaro can definitely do well as Disney's new CEO, considering he was previously involved with the parks and considering Chapek was involved with the parks previously, that was a disaster. So I do want to wait and see, and I think it's time for Bob Iger to step down. As much as I do appreciate what he did what he did for Disney during the 2010s, he really just overstayed his welcome and just made things worse. Let's see. Josh D'Amaro and Dana Walden, in my view, at least, are excellent choices to succeed Iger. D'Amaro has a vision, drive, and ambition to be a great Disney CEO, while Walden sees value in great stories. Plus, D'Amaro wants Disney to get back into in-house video game development. That alone makes him superior to Iger in my book. Oh, that'll be interesting. All right. Well, coming from someone who briefly met Josh D'Amaro at D23, I kind of knew he would be CEO in the future, and we were all correct. Honestly, this definitely is a wait and see what will happen next for Disney and their animation studio like Walt Disney Animation Studios and Pixar. Hopefully better than Iger 2.0 after what happened last year with Jimmy Kimmel. I know Josh has a better understanding about Disney, but again, we'll just wait and see. All right, let's see now. Yeah, I guess I'll go with this one. It's about time there will be a new CEO at Disney. Hope Josh fixes things after Iger messed up, like treating employees well, giving full creative control to filmmakers, including animated films, respecting diversity and LGBTQ+, sending humanitarian aid to Palestine and Sudan, don't ruin projects or causing another controversy. We will have to wait and see if he succeeds well in the first year. Oh, if he succeeds well in the first year. Yeah, I mean, those are all nice, but like, don't put your hopes a little too high for that. Again, we are still talking about Disney executives.
Yeah.
Let's see. I think I got one more here. I'm not fully committed to trusting D'Amaro yet, but I hope things will improve compared to Chapek's tenure. I've done some research and mostly heard positive reviews about him, so I believe he's starting off well. Also, I don't mean to be rude, but I really love his last name. Seriously, I think it's a sign of good fortune to have such a name. Just imagine saying, I'll see you at work tomorrow, without it sounding like a pun, but all is to say, a true test in his hands, hope for the best. And with that said, that should do it for today's episode of Animat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. Tony, thank you so much for joining me on this. It's been a blast of an episode.
My pleasure. You know, I wonder if Josh D'Amaro has a gay son, because then your son will come out tomorrow.
Yeah, maybe. But also, Tony, I would like to know, if people really enjoyed you, then they would want to go and follow you. Where can they find you on the internet?
I have a Blue Sky account, tonygoldmark.bsky.social. You can follow me there. I also technically still have a Twitter account, but I very rarely post anything there. I'm almost never on Twitter anymore. I'm much more on Blue Sky. You can check out my YouTube channel, youtube.com/TonyGoldmark, where you can see every episode of my 2010s web series, Some Jerk with a Camera, along with a scant episodes of my podcast, Escape from Walt Disney. My last episode of Escape from Walt Disney, which is available wherever podcasts can be found. And Escape from Walt Disney is a podcast where me and my rotating series of guests, including Matt Brunet here, AniMat, has been on a few times, where we cover randomly selected pieces of Disney Plus content. Movies, TV shows, short films, you name it. If it's on Disney Plus, not Hulu titles, those don't count. But we covered a bunch of stuff on Disney Plus. The most recent episode right now is my Yule log episode from last Christmas, a very Jonas Christmas holiday Yule log, or it's called something like that. And it went just about as chaotically as my two previous Yule log specials, so that was fun. And now I'm on a bit of an Escape from Walt Disney hiatus at the moment, but it will return with new episodes soon. I know on previous podcast appearances I said February 21st. It's now looking like that's probably not going to happen. I'm probably going to need more time than that, but I would estimate sometime in March, Escape from Walt Disney will return with weekly new episodes. I'm really determined to get back on a weekly schedule at this point. So look for the new season of Escape from Walt Disney to begin sometime in March.
Hey, that's awesome, dude. And as for Animat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, if you enjoyed your time here, don't forget to go and subscribe to the YouTube channel and also on Twitch on the channel Animate Live. At the same time, if you guys enjoyed listening to it on whatever podcast service you're listening to, whether it be on Spotify, Amazon, Apple, and more, then don't forget to go and follow me there too. And with all that said, I would like to say thank you all so much for listening. Thank you all so much for watching. And until next time, see you later, dudes.